The Sciforror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sci-Fi Film Podcast. I am Andy Walker as always, and I am joined today by our guest presenter, James Alexander Allen. How you doing, James? You all right?
Hello there. I'm very good, Andy. How are you been?
Yeah, chugging along, as they say.
Hmm.
Um, so you've been out and about, and you've been making a new film and everything. Tell us a bit about it.
Yes, I've just we finished the first block of three blocks for what's going to be my first feature film. It's called The Whistleblower and the Whistleblower. It's kind of an action comedy, and I've just been cutting the first block together, and we've got some interesting stuff. We're just figuring out the next two blocks, which is always sort of the broccoli you have to get through before the sweet treat of seeing the movie come together. But yeah, it's been a great project, and I'm very excited to sort of see it through and have some stuff that I can show.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, looking forward to that. We've enjoyed your films in the past, and it'd be nice to see what you do with the feature. It'd be quite good. Okay, we are today. We're doing sci-fi, science fiction stuff. We go again as usual. We have two short films and a feature film. So let's get into it, and then we can chat again a bit more at the end. Okay. So we're starting off with a film from 2016, and this film called The Kung Fu Robot. This is from Dexter Studios. I haven't got a cast list for this, but it's the synopsis for this says a retired kung fu master receives a janitor robot from his son. After refusing at first, he realizes there is something special about this robot which does more than just take out the trash. Um, yeah, I mean, I must admit there wasn't as much to this film as I thought there was going to be from reading the synopsis. Um, but I thought that Robot was done brilliantly.
Mm, yeah, they clearly put a lot of hard work, care, and devotion into bringing it to life. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the effects are excellent. The story itself isn't a major thing, and it's not necessarily an original story. I've seen similar sort of things, but with like humans, it's the robot aspect of it that makes it a very different sort of film.
I mean, the take that I got from it was my assumption was that this short was like a proof of concept for a feature film.
Yeah, I had a feeling that
Saying give us a lot of money to make a 60-minute version of this because there was like there was definitely hints of more that there was a little shot of the robot in the family picture, and I was like,
yeah.
okay, this these creators are really hinting at something that's probably going to be very tugging on the heartstrings in the end, I suspect.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we found it a lot with a lot of short films that you watch them, you think that this could easily be the start or the finish or part of a bigger film. Um, and I think it would work well as a bigger film. I'd again, as we found with a lot of short films, it leaves you kind of thinking, what else is going on? What I want to know more.
I was reminded, I mean, in the sort of like the aesthetic of the way the robot was, and I love a bit of martial arts. It had a real sort of wuxia influence, I was reminded a lot of The Creator, the film
All
by
right.
Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a conversation I had with a friend who's from Thailand, who was saying about how um, fictional depictions of robots are very different in Eastern um, literature and screen concept than they are to in the West. It's
Yeah.
like the idea of the robots taking over, like the Terminator, and like the thing of the robots as a threat that need to be overcome and by humanity and man versus machine. That's not really present in anime and manga and Japanese, Chinese, and sort of Korean kind of films and TV. The
Yeah.
robots are much more kind of the friendly helpers and guides and that kind of thing. And he was saying that it's because there's just like as a cultural thing that the fear of being replaced and like the need to be on top of the world isn't there so much. There's more of a kind of what'll be will be. This is
Yeah.
just my time in life. It'll come and it'll go. Don't need to worry about being taken over or not, that kind of thing. And it was like in this one that like the robot was sort of a bit of a sort of a guardian figure in the end.
Yeah.
Like he didn't want to fight. He only kind of really locked in when the well, I'm guessing was still like the bully type sort of figure was just not dropping it. He's just trying to do his sweeping and whistling for release. I like that little touch. And
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I mean, there are plenty of times I've seen film, anime stuff and things like that when, yeah, the robots don't seem to be a threat. They seem to be part of as you say, either guardians or just part of the whole family unit. They're kind of like they're kind of much more sort of an integral part of things rather than being as kind of
they're often cute as well. It's like I
yeah,
like how so like Star Wars, which really kind of loops the balancing completely between Western and Eastern. And so on the one hand, you've got the battle droids and the sort of the evil robot army in the prequels, but then at the same time, you've got R2, who is very sweet. He's
yeah,
little, and he's sort of like the very, very useful pet that kind of you really want around you in a crisis kind of thing. And
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I've always seen R2D2 as being almost like a kind of guide dog, like a
yes,
guard dog. It's sort of they are, with you, guiding you and sort of like being your companion. But
hmm,
if you need them to, they'll also be a kind of they'll attack people who are trying to attack you. You know. But
hmm.
yeah, no. But I thought that was it's a very good film. It's very well made and very well put together film. But I would like to see what they could do in the future with this, with the idea.
I mean, I mean, you said it was 2016, this
Yeah,
one. So like they could theoretically have raised the money to at least sort of get started on a feature by then. I'd love to know
yeah.
if they did. It's
Now I'd have to look into more into what they've done, see whether or not they've actually moved on with it in any way.
I'd like to sort of know if they did more stuff, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, definitely worth, definitely worth looking at though.
Hmm.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Okay, so the second short film is from 2020, and it's a film. I think it's pronounced Fenestra.
Hmm. That was my guess as well, yeah.
Writer and director is Jason Sheedy, and the cast is Brett Brooks and Erin Ownby. The synopsis says a heartbroken woman must cope with her cheating boyfriend and an incoming alien invasion. Um, the thing I've noticed about this is it's a very quiet film, which is it's nice. It makes a nice change from kind of like um short films quite often are very kind of like bang crash. They want to get everything done quickly and they want it to have an impact straight off. But this is a very sort of for a short film, it's very slow and quiet, which is I quite liked because it makes a change.
Is that you said with the previous one about how a lot of short films feel like the beginning or end of a longer. It's like to me, this very much felt like the opening scene of maybe a TV series or mini series.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It happens often. You watch these films and you want to know more of what's going on or what's gone on. So you kind of think to yourself, yeah, this could be developed into something, or it could be, part of something bigger. Uh, and again, yeah, I think it's had some really good effects in it. I think the effects that there were, which there weren't lots, but there were the effects that there were done really well.
Hmm.
The spaceships and the writing and that kind of thing I thought was good. I mean, I just want to know more about what's going on with it because it's kind of like there's so much that isn't explained.
Hmm. So I mean, I assumed that she was like a sleeper agent for the invasion, sort of like the number six in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
I liked the thing about the way that they paid off the wine. That she starts off and she's pouring this increasingly big glass of wine, and you think it's because she's just drinking because her boyfriend's cheated.
yeah,
Then when it turns back around and the wine is full, and that's really funny. It's like she's gonna drink all that, and then it keeps going, and it's like, okay, there's something wrong there. And
yeah.
it reminded me a bit. Have you seen K-pop Demon Hunters?
I haven't. No.
It's worth a watch. It is I can definitely see why it took the world by storm. But there's a thing at the beginning where there are these demons, and at the first they're just it looks like they're behaving oddly because they're super hyper fans. And there's one that's sort of distractedly pouring coffee onto plants as he's watering plants with the and the first like when it's first done, it's like that they're very distracted fans. And then it's quickly actually no, they don't know how to human, and that's
Right.
and this reminded me of that with the fact that sort of and the fact that the wine I don't know whether this was an effect or a grading thing, but it turned from red to black almost. And
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean.
yeah.
It was very cleverly done. That whole thing was. I think the whole film was really brilliantly done, and the yeah, I got the impression that she was some kind of, as you say, sleeper agent or something like that, something to do with the invasion somehow.
There is a part of me that would almost have preferred the sort of the grounded version of the thing of as the alien invasion is beginning, this relationship's broken apart by cheating. I love the kind of blending of mundane with the
Yeah,
alien, and it's a thing of there. I feel like there is a sort of like a funnier version, which is just this couple that can't see past that as this much bigger thing is happening, and
yeah, no, I know what you mean. But it is. You quite often find when there's um, a major thing going on, some kind of like huge thing that you can't do anything about, that is totally out of your control, that you do focus on the small sort of things that are affecting you directly in your life.
absolutely. I mean, I didn't end up doing this, but I don't know if you did the Impact 50 come across your radar at all. It was London Screenwriters Festival did this initiative years ago now. It came to fruition a couple of years ago where it was 50 2-minute anthology films that were made into a feature, which is an asteroid is about to hit the Earth, and it's 52-minute films,
All right.
done on different bits of it, and obviously there are loads written, but then 50, and then some got made, and then 50 got put into the final product. And I wrote one that ultimately we never really went anywhere with, which was the asteroids coming down. Um, this guy is racing back home to be with his family, and he gets stopped for speeding. Um, and it's a thing of because as you say, I love the idea that even as this potentially world-ending thing is happening,
Yeah,
life is still going on, and people are still doing like the things which are small by macro standards, but quite big on the micro level. I like the detail of seeing it on the news as it's happening outside. And
yeah,
although one thing that did stick out to you a little bit is that on the news when it says ships appear in the sky,
yeah,
I did think ships. I don't know if like mainstream news would make that leap. I feel like they would say like massive unidentified objects or UFOs.
UFOs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah. I know. I mean what you mean. It's yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to know whether they. I mean, had there had by then had there been any contact from the aliens or ever? So you don't know
Yeah,
what
that is
they
true,
what
actually.
they
Yeah.
know and what they don't know. So but yeah, again, it's another one of these things you kind of think to yourself, what has been going on? What do they know? What don't they know? You know?
Yeah, especially as like one detail that I really liked from a VFX standpoint is the fact that the alien craft are not completely visible. They're always sort of hidden behind clouds. Like you can tell that they're massive,
Yeah,
but you can't make out all of what they are,
yeah, no, yes, that's
which is
true.
which is a great touch that I feel like often there's a temptation when you've made a great sort of CGI model to kind of flaunt it and show it off in all its glory. But I appreciated the fact that they were slightly hidden by cloud cover.
It kind of reminded me as at the beginning of Independence Day when you have these big clouds and the ship's kind of emerging from the clouds. That was. But yeah, I agree. It's very well done. That was very well done. I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a good film, but I would like to see more of know more of what's going on.
Mm.
But then I suppose, maybe that's the best thing to do with a short film is leave people wanting more so they talk about it.
Yes, yeah, and there's the thing as well that if it makes people kind of talk about it and that kind of thing, that's what you want, really, isn't it? That
Yeah, absolutely.
because of like very often when you screen short films, it will be in a block of about eight or nine of them, and you do sort of want to be the one with that's so people say, oh yeah, this is the one with the cheating boyfriend of the alien invasion. Oh yeah, that one. And
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Yes, it's just frustrating watching them sometimes when you think to, I want to know more. Okay. Right, on to our feature film. Our feature film is from 2018. I didn't realize this was that old, to be honest. And this is a film called Prospect. The writers and directors are Caldwell and Zeke Earle. The cast is Sophie Thatcher, Jay Duplass, Pedro Pascal, Luke Patrick, Arthur Durnalo, and Andre Royo. And the synopsis says a teenage girl and her father land on a forest moon to mine for gems, but a malfunction forces them to confront dangerous rival prospectors and treacherous conditions to complete their mission. Apart from the synopsis, I knew absolutely nothing about this film before watching it, and I had no real idea what to expect. Um, it's one of these films that kind of has I have never I didn't hadn't heard of it. I didn't know anything about it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I was surprised as you were to find out how old it was because my assumption was that because Pedro Pascal has kind of become a movie star in the old-fashioned sense now, which I love. I'm so glad that we have movie stars again.
Yeah,
I assumed that this was sort of a film that he had launched with his star power, when in actuality he must have done this before he was in The Mandalorian. He was basically, I think Game of Thrones had been the biggest thing he must have done by this point.
yeah. I mean, I was really surprised. I mean, it's I mean, it's quite strange. He seems to have been in a lot of things in the last sort of 3 or 4 years
Hmm.
that, as you say, have really like raised him up to that kind of that star level.
Hmm. I mean, what's interesting as well is the lead actress, Sophie Thatcher, because
Yeah.
she actually had a little cameo in the Book of Boba Fett. She was one of the kind of 50s mod bikers
All
riding.
right.
And he had a little camera in that, although I'm sure that it was just he just basically came into the office one day to record the lines, and they had his standards and stunt doubles were probably there on set. But my assumption was when I read the cast list that because Gunpowder and Sky is the production company in the end credits, and
Mm.
I have come across them. They've frequently been a presence at the Pitch Fest at London Screenwriters Festival. I think I may have cold queried them a few times actually.
All right.
My kind of understanding, my assumption was they must have sort of nabbed Sophie Thatcher and then sort of gone, well, she's just been in Book of Boba, maybe we can get Pascal. But
Yeah.
it was apparently this was her first. I think this was her first big break. I don't think she'd really been in much before this. And
No, I mean, to be honest, the only person, I mean, Pedro Pascal, as I say, I've heard of because of things he's done recently. And the only other person I knew in this was Jay Duplass, who's obviously him and his brother make filmmakers, and they did brilliant films, Creep and Creep 2. And they've been in the news recently for putting money into um, a scheme for uh, promoting filmmakers who are sort of like LGBTQ plus
well, I
people.
didn't know
So
that.
yeah, so I knew him, and I knew Pedro Pascal through his recent films, but I didn't know Sophie Thatcher. I mean, I must admit I haven't seen much of the sort of extended Star Wars stuff, so I don't really know. But yeah, no, it was odd. Coming to this not having any knowledge of it whatsoever. I mean, hadn't even heard the title. No, heard anybody talk about it or anything. So it obviously, when it was released, didn't make a huge splash at the time for whatever reason. Um, but I think the idea and the story are a little bit. they feel a little bit convoluted. It feels a bit kind of like it's like they had four or five story ideas that they kind of mashed together.
Mm.
Um, but it's still very good. It's very well put together.
It's that there was like an element of at first I thought it was going to be like a survival kind of thing, and then it went quite kind of Western crime of going for the loot, going for the treasure kind of thing. And but I remember it was the moment when the dad and Pedro Pascal's partner shot each other.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know it was one of those moments like, okay, I don't know what's coming now. And
No, I agree.
I kind of like it when films do that, when they kind of like pull the rug out and go, okay, we're now going in another direction. Like, okay, I sort of trust what I've seen so far enough to go along with this. And
Yeah. No, it was a very interesting thing. I wasn't expecting that to happen. It was very well done and very good. It was interesting because everything I've seen Pedro Pascal in, he's kind of been um he's kind of been the good guy, if you like.
hmm,
And it was interesting in this to see him at least start off as being like, not so much of a good guy. He's kind of like, he's a bit kind of like I'm just interested in the money and I'm willing to kill anyone for it. Um, but I was intrigued because I read a thing recently that somebody put a thing out online and it said the future of filmmaking is that every science fiction film to be made in the future will feature Pedro Pascal saving or guiding a young child through the universe.
I mean, it's a thing of Fantastic Four, check. Last of Us, check. Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem to be a kind of pattern emerging there.
Although I did think as well, because there was some very interesting dialogue and feel of the world in this one. I felt
Hmm.
like there was a bit of a Firefly influence in parts, and
Yeah, I can see that.
there was a bit where I made a note of there was a line where he said it was a toilsome marathon of carnage. And in that moment, I thought, I'm wondering if the filmmakers were angling for Matthew McConaughey for this role.
Yeah, yes, I could see
I
that.
think that came out a little cheaper at the time, but
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think that the acting and the characterizations were really good.
I thought, yeah, I mean, I was particularly hit by Pedro Pascal's performance in the amputation scene.
Absolutely, that whole scene is just
Really? I was like, bloody hell, that was like the birth scene in We Live in Time. I was like,
that,
really
that
kind
was
of,
an incredible scene. I wasn't expecting that at all, and it was like, wow, that's really
and it was a thing of there was a couple of well chosen effects shots to kind of let you know what was happening, but not kind of let your mind fill in the gaps with the sound design. And most of it was just his performance. The thing of the not being in pain, but sort of being tickled and sort of panicking. It was just really well done.
it
And
was it was quite an incredible scene. That whole part I thought was brilliant, and as you say, I mean, there are some excellent effects in that scene and in the whole film. There are some great effects.
I like how grounded I made a particular note of I like the way the guns were. It reminded me of something I often say about in Aliens with the Marines guns, which are they're not quite laser guns and they're not quite sort of traditional firearms.
Yeah.
They're their own kind of futuristic thing with the sound effect and the kind of ignition effect that's I do like that. That's very strong. And there are some little details that I in the beginning. that when she's in her bedroom and there's a little sticker on her wall of what looks like the Lorax, but they've changed the color, I guess, for sort of copyright. But I thought that's a good little detail to just prime in your mind
Yeah.
a bit of the philosophy behind the story world as well. I thought it was a good little.
Yeah, I mean, there are some excellent little details in the background. What I liked about this was the fact that, and it's something I like in sci-fi films is when they do things. I don't know any other way of explaining it, but it's I like the kind of grubby feel to the spaceship and their space suits and that kind of thing. They're not pristine, sort of like glowing, lovely sort of places. It's kind of all looks like it's been well used and well lived in, and the suits are all that sort of like they're a bit old, and do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's sort of again, it's like going back to with the Alien franchise and the thing about the sort of space truckers
Yeah,
and they seem to talk about they talked about the big interstellar spacecraft in this movie like trains,
yeah,
the last train out, the last ride, and there's the thing of yeah, that there is sort of like the sense that they're kind of like it's like they're operating old sort of diesel electric locos. Everyone's a bit oily and it's the thing of even though the world is very kind of grubby and grounded and gritty, what I really appreciated, it's something that I do not see enough in big movies, is there is genuine actual color in
yeah.
this. I loved how saturated it is, how green it was, and
I kind of loved that effect of having the little kind of I don't know what they were. That kind of they're almost like spores or something floating through the air all the time that they're in the forest. Just these little sort of specks floating all the time. It kind of gave it a feeling of being real.
you see, I wonder if that was an effect or if it was sort of a just the lens picking up what that forest was like.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. It just made it feel very. It made the whole landscape kind of feel alive.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd be interested to know how if that was the intentional thing. Also, another sort of random sort of detail that just occurs to me. When they go to the tribe that sort of are the keepers of the healing juice, they called it,
yeah,
and the leader of that tribe is played by Andre Royo, who I recognize as he was Bubbles in The Wire.
right.
Right. I actually met that guy 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
cool.
he was in Austin with a film I saw out there called Miles Away, directed by Jackie Quinones. Lovely film if you get a chance to see it. It seems to be picking up a few awards, rightly so. And he was in it as a sort of he had a great little cameo and it was a exec producer. He's a very cool guy, and it was the thing. I thought I barely could have touched down back from Texas, and I put on the film, and there he is. So
Yeah, I,
extraordinary.
I like I like the fact that it's kind of like you got these very different and quite I mean very different and quite sort of disparate personalities amongst the people. You know, you got that tribe, as you say, that have hold the healing juice. You got the group that they go to. You know, that they're supposed to be harvesting the gems for and splitting the money with. This there's a very different feel to all these people, but I kind of got the impression that uh, there's a lot of I wouldn't say necessarily mental health issues, but there's a lot of things going on with these people that are not quite right somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if this was one of those scripts that came out at about 180 pages long, and they had to cut down. I felt like the bit with the tribe,
Yeah,
that felt like a sequence that was intended to be the majority of Act Two.
yeah,
They had to cut it down to a scene. And there were a few moments actually where I do feel that they could have cut a bit more. I think the haggling scene at the end they could have shortened by a few beats.
yeah. There were. It's funny because it's something I noticed. It's kind of like there is a lot about this film that could make it into, or could make you think that it would be an action sci-fi, but it doesn't really quite get there because it does these bits where you've got kind of action and stuff going on, and then it slows down again. And
Mm.
it's kind of, I don't know, it's a very oddly paced film, but it seems to work.
I mean, one other sort of little sort of bump that I had was after after the dad dies. I sort of like there was a good couple of scenes where I just thought, I mean, what's she doing here? Because like she never really seemed to mourn him. She didn't particularly
No,
like him ever. And it's the thing of after he dies, she doesn't seem particularly shocked. She sort of mulls around for a few scenes. And I feel like they could have spent their emotional capital a little more there, especially as they do it so well for the remainder of the film. I did think that was a little point where again they could have got the runtime under 90 minutes
mm.
with the
I
with the
think that for me, the thing that I felt was that her reaction to lots of things seems very odd, and I just wonder if she's become kind of numb to everything because of whatever they've gone through in the past. I mean, when she's doing the whole thing of cutting his arm off, and she explains about why she's not reacting to it, about having to crawl inside the body of these creatures to take the internal organs out. It's a bit like, what the hell has she been through?
I mean, that reminds me very much of that there's a thing that is often said about when they were writing Finding Nemo, and in the first drafts of that, you found out about the mother and the other eggs and what happened when they were inside the whale.
Yeah,
And it was sort of a moment of, it was intended as a moment of a little sting of, oh, that's why the dad is like that. And the Pixar group basically said the problem with this is that we've got a whole movie of wondering why the dad is such a neurotic dick. And if you put that scene front and center at the beginning and just front load all the trauma the dad's been through, when he's overprotective, you're with him. It's like
yeah,
you want him to be overprotective of his son. And I feel like there there needed to be because I do think you're right. I do think that they were going for she's a character that has been kind of inured to everything before her time. But I mean, that is a very difficult thing to get across on film.
yeah.
Much easier to get across in like a novel form, something like that. And I wonder if through maybe a little bit of sort of sound design or little sort of cracks in her armor, we needed to sort of see that she was like that. I think in the opening scenes, really. I mean, like a note that I've got at the moment when the dad says, "You look like your mother," and they start talking about, I've got on my notes, he's her dad.
Yeah,
Up until that point, I didn't realize. I just thought they were crewmates because I mean, I know that it's a thing of at that level, you're often very much at the mercy of the process in terms of casting, but they didn't really look alike to me. I didn't
no,
I didn't really get that they were. a father and daughter, and there was sort of like always a thing of there was a bit of a block and they definitely seemed a bit estranged. Like the paternal affection didn't seem to really ever be there.
No, I got that as well. It's their relationship seemed very odd and very strained. I didn't quite know what it was supposed to be.
It's, I mean, I think you're right. I do think that like the point they later make about the horror she'd been through, that she sort of is utterly sort of shut down and oppressed. I reckon that is absolutely what they were going for. It's,
Yeah,
I feel like the kind of the opening scene was really where they could have lathered that on a little bit more to kind of set up what's later. But in a way, I guess the fact that we're kind of talking about and analyzing is also there is something in that as well. And
yeah. No, I agree. I do think so. I mean, I think the thing with this for me, I think this is a good film, and I enjoyed watching it. I'm not sure it's a film I'd rush out to watch again, or I'd say to people, "Oh, you've got to watch this film," because it overall I thought it was good, but it didn't kind of wow me. It kind of, I was like, "Oh, that was good film," and but there was nothing about it that kind of lifted it up a bit.
it was definitely. I mean, I've noticed that I've said a few times in the last few minutes about they could have got it under a tidy 90 minutes, and
Yeah,
it's a thing of I'm very much of like I believe in films being on the shorter side generally, and this is a film which I think it came out to an hour and 40, which is not a long film at all. Like if
no,
I'm going to see a film in the cinema and I see it's 100 minutes, I would think, oh, fantastic. That's a very respectable length indeed. I did feel like it often felt like it was longer than that.
yeah,
There were moments where I was sort of looking at the time going, oh, we've got to be approaching the climax now, that kind of thing. And it's the thing, as you said, that it's because the pacing goes very fast for a couple of scenes and slows way down.
yeah,
But it's, I mean, what I do, I appreciate how different it was. I appreciate
absolutely.
like there was definitely a very clear, there was a very clear vision behind it. But there's also a sense that they kind of, this definitely feels like it feels like a labor of love. It feels like something that they were doing for the vision. I don't feel like they were particularly looking to get people in seats with popcorn, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I've got to say that the whole section where they were doing the negotiation and where they were around the fire thing, during that whole thing, in my head, I just wanted to know more about the guy who was all pink
In
in
the
the
in the box.
in the glass box. I wanted to know more about him. I didn't care about the rest of them. I wanted to know what that was all about.
And it was an interesting thing that he was sort of set off as a like a Chekhov's gun in that scene, and then he pays off at the end, and it's a thing if they let him out,
Yeah.
he smashes the guy's head in, and I think we don't see him again after that, do we?
Well, when they go back to the spaceship, he's just standing there, and they just stop and stare at each other for a minute, and then they walk to the spaceship, and he just watches them.
It reminded me of that there was a moment in one of the X-Men films, one of the newer ones. I think was it Apocalypse? I think it might have been, but basically there's a moment in one of the X-Men films where the new the new old X-Men characters are on this sort of side quest sort of mission in the middle of the film, and they just accidentally open this like pod, and out comes Wolverine.
Right.
Wolverine has nothing to do with the rest of the film. He just comes out for this scene, gets let out, smashed up a bunch of people, and then that's it. And you don't see him again for the rest of the film. It kind of felt like that, except the pink guy in the box doesn't have the kind of the cross-franchise baggage of.
Yeah, I just I wanted to know more about who he was, where he came from, what was that all about? You know?
I almost wonder if it's like with if the creators had an idea to make more films,
Yeah,
that this guy was going to be a sort of a recurring figure
maybe.
across.
I don't know.
But
It was.
because they
I
put
think.
so much effort into the design, didn't they? He was a
Yeah,
very.
and it was an interesting thing and something really kind of like that was different, and you kind of like I focused on that more than them on them talking about the negotiating about the gems and everything. I was thinking I want to know more about that one. So maybe it wasn't the way they intended it to happen, but
I mean, again, I wonder if there was a plan at some point for there to be a thing of like in the beginning, you see the other bad guys just carrying this bloke in a box like a giant fish tank, and
yeah, I don't
because
know.
it's I mean it's they clearly put a lot of work into that design, and it's a thing of I wonder if maybe it was just a thing of that's the only scene they could do that for. Because
We've got this idea that we want to use. Where can we put it?
yeah, uh, it's
But I mean, I do think overall, I think it is a good film, and I agree with you. It is very different from like a lot of sci-fi things, and it works well as a film, and I'm kind of glad they haven't made any sort of other ones and made it into a. I'm not. I've said it before on here. I am not a fan of franchises
it's
because
I do agree with you there. Yeah,
they
it's
get tired very quickly, I feel.
it's the big I think the problem that I have is films that are made for the sake of franchises. Like if there's a film that comes out and it is really good, and they say this film was great, it did well, let's make another one. We got idea for another one, and the franchise grows like that. That is fine. So I'm more than happy with that. But it's a thing of when people have clearly gone, okay, this is going to be part one of three, and we've got two more planned. It's like I actually legitimately cannot think of a single example of that has worked.
No.
Every time that has been done, the series has either never made it past film one or never made it past film two.
See,
Mm.
I mean, there was this thing in the 70s and 80s. There were a lot of films that came out that ended up being franchises
Hmm.
that kind of, as you say, they did that naturally. It kind of grew naturally out of like we made a film, everyone loves it, let's make a sequel. But what I found a lot of the time was the fact that the first film was really good. The second film was normally quite awful because it was made in a hurry.
Hmm.
The third film was better than the second one, but not as good as the first one. But everyone thinks it's the best film out of the three because of the fact that it's so much better than the second one.
I think I know exactly the franchise you're talking about.
Well, I think that works across lots of them. I mean, for me, it works with Star Wars. It works with the Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a lot of films like that.
I mean, I do love the third Indiana Jones as well, but
Yeah,
it's a thing of on the subject of I see a lot of Star Wars fans saying that they wish for the seventh, eighth, and ninth films, saying, "Oh, there should have been a plan. They should have had all three films mapped from the start." And I'm just like, "Oh no," because somebody was going to read all this and think that and it's like that's. No, that's the worst way to do it. It's
But
like if you
there
put
are,
films in advance, then the first film is going to spend all its time going, wait and see what's in part two. And
well,
ah,
yeah. I'll go back to an example. It's like I went to a thing, a screening. It was a screening of a film that we were given questionnaires about. And this was a new film that nobody else had seen, and nobody knew what was happening with it. But when we answered the questionnaires, we were told afterwards that this film had been made with the intention of it being the first film in a franchise. And it didn't work because the characters were not strong enough to carry into it. Was a good film, and as a standalone film, it would have been good. But it didn't have the characters, and the story weren't strong enough to develop into a franchise. Or I didn't think they were, and I think quite a few other people agreed. But because of that, the film company pulled the film completely and didn't bother even putting it out.
oh, for God's- that's I mean
And you
that
think, why have you done that? This is a good film. You could put it out as a standalone film, say nothing about franchise to anyone, put it out as a film, and everyone will enjoy the film and think this is good.
yeah.
But
And it's a thing of if the people in like, if you make I would say it's a thing of you make one good film, and if people like it and when the dust settle there's appetite, you can make another. And it's like
yeah,
I've got a script on my set that it's going to be the one I want to make after we've wrapped on the one we're doing at the moment. And it's one of those things that I really like the project. I've been working on the script for a few years, and I do at the back of my head have a few ideas for if it were to do well, what I might do for a sequel. But I I absolutely could take or leave it. It's a thing of that the it's a thing of my priority is, do I have one film that people like
yeah,
before um and yeah, it's a thing of unless you're gonna literally just make three films all at once like they did with Lord of the Rings, like that can work. I mean, I know they did that with the last Mission Impossible as well, but that generally speaking, I like yeah, I feel like it's got to start with, do you have a movie that works on its own?
yeah. I must admit, there are very few franchises that I think work past two or three films, and there are very few that I've even well established franchises. There are very few films that I personally feel would have been. There are a lot of them that I feel would have been perfectly okay if they had just stopped with the first film.
I mean, I watched your video on this, and it's I mean I am a huge Star Wars fan. I'm very into a lot of the other extended universe, the books, the games, the High Republic, Old Republic, all the different eras. But I do maintain that when we're doing our sort of rankings of the films, rather, I mean, slightly controversially, I always put the original film over The Empire Strikes Back, which I know is it's generally like projected that Empire Strikes Back is the best, but I really like the original because it is just such a great movie on its own. Like
Yeah,
works in concert with all that's come since, but when if you remove all of the franchise stuff and all of the extra stuff, just on its own, it's a great little movie.
absolutely.
And it's such a plucky movie. It's like so much blood, sweat, and tears went into it as well. And
I will honestly say, out of all of the, I've seen most. I haven't watched the TV series and some of the other bits and pieces, but of all of the feature films that to do with Star Wars, the other one that I would rank as being maybe not as good as, but alongside the original Star Wars film, would be Rogue One, because I thought that again was a really good film that really could stood on its own.
It was sort of it's basically it was a very classic war movie, like sort of Dirty Dozen, sort of you
Yeah,
introduce these characters and then get to know them and then murk them gradually over the third actors.
but I think it just worked really well. It was a really good, solid film that stood on its own feet. If I'd have watched that, even if it wasn't part of the Star Wars franchise, if I'd have seen that film on its own, I would have enjoyed it and thought it was a really good film.
And it's interesting because we've mentioned Gareth Edwards before with The Creator, which was a
Yeah,
movie like that. And there's sort of going back to Prospect, as saying with these guys who clearly do have a thing. I read a couple of reviews of this film after I watched it, and people sort of said that they definitely felt the world building aspect was elevated over the kind of the character side of it. And
yeah,
if I found out that the crew behind Prospect had been attached to direct on something like Alien Earth or the Mass Effect, or if they did a sort of a Halo project or a Star Wars project, I would I would not be at all concerned because
no,
they clearly have a thing for crafting crafting a world that feels complete and full and lived in very economically. And so
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I do like I again like with the Kung Fu Robot. I don't know what else these guys have done, but they they absolutely sort of have it in them to direct sci-fi television, I reckon, or if not movies, and yeah, it is a thing of like really kind of concrete world building.
Yeah,
It's that is not it's not something that is really taught, and it's not something that is given a lot of attention by like classical sort of screenwriting schools and sort of script gurus, things like that. But it is absolutely a skill that there is real that audiences seem to really value. And
I
these
think the other thing is that in order to make it work, I think that you need to have the people with the vision and the ideas and the story and the concept of the world. But I think you also need to have a good cinematographer who can help to bring that concept to life and make it look real.
yes, I mean the cinematography on Prospect was very, and I mean I said about how blended with the color grading
Yeah,
was a very nice combination, and yeah, it would have been a great collaboration, I'm sure.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so there we go. We had the Kung Fu Robot that we both thought was a really good short film and would be interested to see whether they've made it into anything more in the way of a feature. Fenestra, which again looked like it could be part of a larger film, and it was a good film, an interesting film because I just liked the fact that it was a slower, quieter film than a lot of short films are. But I thought we both thought it was very good. And Prospect, which again is a good film. As I say, I enjoyed watching it and I'm glad I've watched it, but it's not necessarily a film that I'm going to be saying to raving about to people. But if somebody said to me, "What do you think of it?" I'd say it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when I was at university and I was in the sort of sci-fi horror society briefly, if they put this film on, I would not have regretted my time with it at all. That's
No,
yeah,
definitely.
I'm sure
Okay.
I could have just imagined the chats we would have had in the uni bar about it afterwards as well.
Right, there you go. Thank you, James, for being on the show and for doing the reviews.
Thanks for having me on, Andy. It's been a great pleasure.
Yes, it's been great talking to you again. I wish you all the best with the film you're working on. Have you got anything else that's sort of in the pipeline other than the feature film?
Well, I mean, I don't. The block two is taking up a lot of my time because I'm simultaneously editing block one and scheduling block two, and I need to start storyboarding block two as well. Once we know what we're scheduled to shoot and all that kind of thing, so that
Right.
is taking up a lot of the time. I do have my last short Ash Sunday showing at Romford Short Festival
Oh,
in
right.
that's not this Saturday, but the Saturday after November the 15th,
Yeah.
depending on when this airs. And so I'll be looking forward to bringing that there. I'll be crossing everything that the film doesn't glitch like it did last time I was at Romford. But
But it's a good film. It's a good film. We watched that, and I did watch that at the Horror Film Festival, and we reviewed that. It was a good film. Definitely worth a watch if anybody is going along. Okay. Thank you very much, and I wish, as I say, I wish you all the best for the feature film, and hope everything goes all right next weekend at the short films. And for any future projects that you have, we hope to talk to you again at some point in the future.
I would be happy to talk about them. Once we have something to show, I'll be delighted to.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you to everybody for watching. As always, I will put links up for the films and I also put links up for James's YouTube channel so you can go and have a look and see what his stuff is like. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.
The Sci-Horror Film Podcast.